Crystal of Wisdom presents.
Have wise assistants.
Dear friends, today I'm going to tell you a story about a sultan and a simple handicraftsman. They argued about who was really rich, how did their dispute end, and what is wisdom. You will find out by listening to this story to the end. It was a long time ago, many centuries ago. The storytellers told that in one small state ruled a sultan named SULTAN. He was a very wise and great ruler. During his glorious reign, his small state prospered. He made peace for many years with neighboring states and conducted constant trade with them. There were no poor people in his state. All people could work and earn their living. For this, all his subjects glorified the great SULTAN. But the years passed. There was no stopping them. The great SULTAN grew old, and then one day he was gone. The great SULTAN had an heir, Prince Bahir. During the reign of the great SULTAN, Prince Bahir did not bother himself with the affairs of state, as the great SULTAN himself solved all the issues. But it was time for Bahir to become Sultan. And then he realized that he did not know how to rule the state and his subjects. On the appointed day, a solemn ceremony was held for Bahir's accession to the rights of the Sultan. But there was no joy on Bahir's face. Who could teach him the wisdom of ruling the state? And there was no time at all. Wrong actions could ruin the treasury, lawlessness could start in the cities, and the sultans of neighboring states could declare war. What was to be done? Then one vizier, whom Bahir trusted, told him that a wise man lived not far away in a small village. He would surely tell Bahir what to do. Bahir agreed. He took the vizier and the guards with him and went to the wise man. Bahir told the wise man everything as it was. Then the wise man said these wise words, "O Honorable Sultan Bahir, it is the property of the great to resort to the help of the wise. And you have already taken the first great step, because you, O Venerable Sultan Bahir, have come to me for wise counsel." The wise man was silent for a little while, and then continued, "There's so much to know, and life without knowledge is not life. Great is the art of one who comprehends the sciences without agony, learns much from many, and absorbs the wisdom of all. And the wisdom of great rulers is to convert into their servants those whom nature has endowed with superiority in anything. Wise assistants will select the best for you in all the sciences and present you with the most needed knowledge at the right moment. This is what your father, the great Sultan SULTAN, was great at," the wise man added. Sultan Bahir understood the words of the wise man. He thanked the Sultan with gold for his wise and useful advice and left. At that time, a young boy named Habib lived in the service of the wise man. He was also a disciple of the wise man. Habib heard a conversation between the wise man and the Sultan. So Habib asked the wise man, "Tell me, O great teacher, you have given very wise advice to the young Sultan. If he follows your wise advice, he can become a great Sultan, like his father, Sultan SULTAN, was." The wise man nodded his head to Habib in agreement and approval, and Habib continued, "Tell me, O great teacher, but from your wisdom, it appears that only the rich and the rulers have access to the wisdom of all knowledge, and to the poor it is not. Even if one person studies all his life, he cannot realize the knowledge of all sciences in the world. Why is this so, O great teacher?" The wise man listened to his disciple, smiled slyly and said, "I see that you are very perceptive. O my disciple Habib, you have rightly observed. I am pleased with that. But I have not told the Sultan all wisdom. He's a rich lord, and what I have told him is enough to make him a great Sultan." Then the wise man continued, Listen carefully, O shrewd Habib. My wisdom ends with these words, and whoever does not have the power to keep wisdom in his service, let him seek it among his friends. Now that's all the wisdom. Memorize it. O my disciple, Habib. Then Habib realized how wise his teacher was. Many years have passed since then. Habib grew up and matured. He learned to be a handicraftsman coppersmith and made various copper utensils, jars, and even jewelry. All of this he sold or made to order. He did not get rich doing this work, but he had enough to live on. Habib always remembered the words of a wise man, his teacher. Wise assistants will select the best in all sciences and will give you the most necessary knowledge at the right time. And who does not have the power to keep wisdom in his service, let him seek it in the circle of friends. So he always had loyal friends. Each of them was a master in some kind of business. They all always helped each other with their skill and knowledge. Habib was very happy that his life turned out this way. He thought that for a happy life, it was enough for him. And of course, he always remembered the wise man, his teacher, with gratitude. Meanwhile, Sultan Bahir also never forgot the wise advice that the wise man had given him. He surrounded himself with the most intelligent people in his state. All of them were in the Sultan's service. Sultan Bahir granted them the honorable title of vizier. Taking from each of them the right bits of wisdom at the right time, Sultan Bahir made them all proud of giving wise advice to the great Sultan Bahir and happy to serve him for the rest of their lives. And that made him a truly great sultan. He had no enemies. And the sultans of neighboring states sought only peace and protection from the great Sultan Bahir. Trade in his state flourished. From this, the sultan became only richer. On the advice of his viziers, the sultan established taxes and duties that were affordable to merchants, handicraftsmen, and ordinary residents of his state. At the same time, he gave part of the money to the poor and indigent citizens. For this, all the inhabitants of this state glorified their sultan and called him Great Sultan Bahir. As a sign of great gratitude and respect for their sultan, the poor fell on their knees before him and raised their hands to the sky, glorifying the sultan, while the rich people obediently lowered their heads and joined their palms. And one day, the following interesting event took place. One day, Sultan Bahir was passing through the market square. At the sight of the great sultan, as was customary, everyone expressed their respect and gratitude. Habib, a handicraftsman, met him on the way. Habib joined his palms and lowered his head before the sultan. The sultan did not like this. He stopped and asked the man's name. "My name is Habib. I am an handicraftsman," Habib replied to the sultan. "Why did you, Habib, lower your head like a rich man instead of falling on your knees?" the sultan asked him. Then Habib said these words, "O great sultan, be thou glorious forever and ever. I'm very happy that you have given me your precious attention. But I do not consider myself a poor man. On the contrary, I consider myself a rich man, O my great Sultan Bahir. I do not see that you look like a rich man. Look at me. I am the one who is rich. I have as much gold as you have never seen, even in your dreams. I have more servants than you could ever imagine. When I look at you, I see a poor man. You must be a liar, or you dare to laugh at me. For this you will be severely punished," exclaimed the sultan. The sultan's servants had already prepared to seize the insolent handicraftsman. But Habib once more joined his palms together, lowered his head before the sultan, and said, "O great sultan, everyone knows that you are fabulously rich, but you are called the great sultan also, because you are very clever. I, Habib, a handicraftsman, praise you as much as anyone. I dare not lie to you and laugh at you, O great sultan, but believe me, I do consider myself a rich man. Hearing these words, the Sultan became interested. He stopped his servants, telling them to wait a little while and to miss the handicraftsman. Also, it seemed to the Sultan for a moment that he had seen this man once a long time ago, but the Sultan could not remember where or when. This made the Sultan even more curious as to what kind of a strange man this man was. Or was he a brazen liar after all, and deserved to be punished? "All right," said the Sultan. "I'm listening to you, handicraftsman. Where is your wealth?" "O great Sultan," replied Habib, "my wealth is not in gold, and I have no servants. But I have wise friends, and together we have great knowledge and great wisdom. We share it unselfishly with each other, and we don't need gold. We are rich and happy without it." The Sultan was very surprised at this response from Habib, an ordinary handicraftsman. Sultan thought for a while. He remembered a wise man who had helped him with his very wise advice when he, Sultan Bahir, was still young. Then the Sultan made this decision. He said, "I know an old wise man. I know that he is truly a very wise man. We will go to him now. If you, Habib the handicraftsman, can prove the truth of your words, I will believe you, but if you cannot, you will be punished." Habib agreed, and they went to see the wise man. Sultan Bahir was very happy to see the wise man who had once helped him with wise advice. When he came to the wise man, the Sultan told him the reason for the dispute. The wise man listened to the Sultan. He thought for a while and said, "O Honorable Sultan Bahir, it is the property of the great to seek the help of the wise. You have come to me again, O great Sultan. All these years you have followed my wisdom. You have surrounded yourself with clever servants and have truly become a great Sultan. No one doubts that you are the richest man in our state." But the handicraftsman Habib said the right words. Wealth is not only in gold. If you were not surrounded by intelligent advisors, gold alone would not have made you the great Sultan you have become. The Sultan listened to the wise man's words and had to agree with him. And the wise man continued, "The handicraftsman Habib has told you that he's rich in the wisdom and knowledge of his friends. So let him prove to us the truth of his words. I will ask 3 difficult riddles, but to be fair, you will both answer the riddles. If you, the great Sultan, can answer them, and Habib the handicraftsman cannot, then there is no truth in his words, and you will decide what to do. If he answers, he will prove that he's right. That is how we will settle your dispute." The Sultan was surprised at such a simple and wise decision, and of course, he agreed with such a decision of the wise man. "Here is your first riddle," said the wise man. "What do we overlook when it is there, and want most when it is not?" The Sultan was confused. He didn't know the answer. What if suddenly the handicraftsman answered? But Habib remained silent. "The riddle is not a simple one," the wise man continued. "There is no need to answer now. You both said that you have wise helpers and counselors. So let your wise helpers help you find the right answer. And tomorrow, at the same time, you will come and I will hear your answer." With these words, the wise man finished speaking. Sultan Bahir and Habib, the handicraftsman, left. Sultan Bahir gathered his viziers and gave them the riddle of the wise man. The viziers conferred for a long time, and after some time told the Sultan that they knew the answer. Habib, a handicraftsman, also gathered his friends and asked them to find the answer to the wise man's riddle. The next day they returned to the wise man. "It is water," they both replied. "When there is water, we drink it as much as we want, and when we want and don't notice anything special. But when it is not there, we only want it." "That's right," replied the wise man. "You both have solved the first riddle. Here's the second one for you. What goes forward and never stops? Think, consult. I expect you tomorrow." finished the wise man. Sultan Bahir and Habib the handicraftsman parted. The next day, they returned to the wise man again. Again, both gave the correct answer. It is time. It cannot be stopped. Time only goes forward and never goes backward. You are right again, the wise man praised them. Here's a third riddle for you. When it is not there, everyone is looking for it, and when it is there, it is the only thing you hear. Again, Sultan Bahir and Habib the handicraftsman separated, and the next day returned to the wise man with the correct answers. This is silence. We often get tired of noise and want to rest in silence and only want to hear silence. And then Sultan Bahir remembered where he had seen Habib. It was when he had first come to the wise man for advice. He remembered that the wise man had a young disciple, and it was Habib. And it became clear to the Sultan that he had met not just a handicraftsman, but a worthy disciple of the wise man. Well then, said the wise man, great Sultan Bahir and handicraftsman Habib, you have both passed your tests with honor. You have both proved your wealth in the wisdom of your cronies. Whether they are your servants or your friends is not so important. What is important is that you have the wisdom to have them. With such wealth you speak one for many. All the wise mans around you speak through your mouth. Do you have any wise helpers? Share it in the comments.
If you liked the video, give it a like.